All right, let me talk to you about this guy right here. He clearly cited a conspiracy against rights under the color of law, but he just didn't use that term. But he did tell the judge to do his job and cite the public defender for ineffective assistance of counsel, the state's attorney for prosecutorial misconduct, for them to do their jobs and cite the judge for judicial misconduct, each other for violations of the rules. Everybody was supposed to report each other because nobody abided by the rules or the codes. Thus, they worked together. They wanted him to take the deal, the gift. They wanted a plea deal. He was like, no, I didn't do nothing. I said, take it or leave it, So he says, well, I'm going to leave it, so you got to go to trial. So they upped the ante, and as usual, threw more charges. And he didn't even cite the violations of the double jeopardy clause. You can't, try or convict a person twice of the same crime, but they'll do that to people to scare them into taking the gift, the deal. It's always, here's the deal. You take it, or we're going to make a mountain out of this molehill. Okay, so listen up to this guy, okay? I talked to him about the rules and the codes. I talked to him about reporting misconduct is mandatory. Failure to report misconduct is misconduct. The judge's failure to report that misconduct is contempt upon the very court that they're presiding over, and not to report misconduct on that day is a furtherance of that contempt of the very court they preside over, thus adding weight to the conspiracy against rights under the color of law. Okay, the last video I showed you, the guy was doing that in child court custody. This guy, I think, is in criminal court, but listen up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hi. Hey, we got a lot of background noise there. Just want to make sure. Where are you at?
I'm in my parking lot at my job right now.
We can not hear most of what you're saying. It sounds like you're underwater. Can you stay still?
Is this better?
It is. Okay. So, your case is the oldest case. This will be our jury trial on Tuesday. So you'll know that right up front. This is the number one case. You have 6 charges here, and I don't know what the negotiations were. I will tell you we have a plea cutoff of noon today, so we have less than 3 hours to work out something. If nothing is worked out by noon today, you will either have to appear for trial on Tuesday, or you'll have to enter pleas of guilty to all 6 charges. So again, after noon today, this will be left on for trial. Any plea agreement has to be worked out before noon today. Do you understand that?
No, Your Honor, I do not. And it is your job to cite my attorney for ineffective assistance of counsel. Reporting misconduct is mandatory in both the Code of Judicial Conduct as well as the rules of professional conduct. The state's attorney should as well then, Your Honor. You took an oath of public service, and violation of that oath is treason. Not to cite my attorney and the state's attorney for violating the rules of professional conduct is a violation of that oath. In judicial conduct, you are also legally obligated and required by the Code of Conduct to do so. My attorney and the state's attorney are therefore required to cite you for judicial misconduct upon failure to do so. Informed consent is required before these proceedings can go forward. It is required I have reasonable knowledge to give informed consent, and that reasonable knowledge would be informing me exactly what due process is, and that's explained in the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct. A fair trial would require everyone in a court of law making sure that I have reasonable knowledge to give informed consent. Now, effective assistance of counsel is a double-edged sword and cuts every way you swing. Every attorney is required to abide by and enforce the rules of conduct as well as judges. Every lawyer and judge are required to abide by and enforce the Code of Judicial as well. Preferential treatment is forbidden in every court of law, and thus far you have given my attorney and the state's attorney preferential treatment, and they you. Let's not forget the requirements of a quick and speedy trial, which has limits. No one has explained any of this to me. With this being recently discovered, I ask that this case be dismissed with prejudice and for all of you to do what's required of law and report each other to the proper authorities. Thank you, Your Honor.
Record Judge, do you wish to hire your own lawyer?
No, Your Honor, because the rules, the professional rules of...
I did something wrong there.
Judge Marcus Holloway stares down at officers Brennan and Reynolds from his bench, the same men who had him face down on concrete yesterday. "I recognize you both," he says calmly, removing his glasses. "Perhaps you should have checked my bar card before putting those handcuffs."
Rules of conduct should not change from a hired lawyer to a public defender. They should be all the same.
Okay, sorry about that. Now the judge, he just told the judge, do your job. You're legally required to report the public defender and the state's attorney for violating the rules of professional conduct. And he didn't tell the judge he's legally responsible to report himself for judicial misconduct, which is stated in the Code of Judicial Conduct. Reporting misconduct is mandatory. There's no limitations. The rules of professional conduct in the Code of Judicial Conduct, that's what establishes effective assistance of counsel. Okay, those are the legal obligations of all lawyers and the judges in the court of law, and nobody abided by them. They just threw the gift at him. Here's the deal, take it. If you don't, we're going to throw more charges and more time, and it's all Intimidation Act. And then he also brought up the quick and speedy trial. They didn't live up to those limitations. That's an automatic dismissal of the case. You don't have a quick and speedy trial. You could be sitting on death row minus that quick and speedy trial. You're off death row. You're out of prison. You were denied due process. I mean, but it happens in every court. This guy is, I think, in Michigan, if I remember correctly. I haven't talked to him since this happened. But they had him go to court, do a personal appearance, and they threw it out because he didn't let up with the rules and the codes, and everybody's supposed to reporting each other. They took an oath to do that. Violating the oath is mandatory fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. There's fines for conspiracy against rights under the color of law. Deprivation of rights, that starts with your attorney. Your attorney, when your attorney's supposed to go over this stuff with you, as he stated here. He just found out, and when he found out from me, and which is true. Before the proceedings can move forward, the court is required for him to give informed consent. He couldn't give informed consent because he didn't have the reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision. That's a legal requirement. In order to give informed consent, he must have reasonable knowledge, and let's be honest, the legal knowledge. He must have legal knowledge, reasonably legal knowledge, to make an informed decision, to give informed consent. And, he had to find out from me. His brother sent him to me. And his brother was one of the reasons I started legal reform. So they're asking him if he wants to hire his own attorney. The judge didn't cite the attorneys and himself for the conspiracy against rights under the color of law. That judge he was a contempt of court, the very court he presided over, for not doing it on any date previous. And to continue not to report this misconduct is a furtherance of that contempt of the very court he presides over. But he still stuck to his guns. They cut him loose, and these judges and lawyers are still operating under the color of law.
So you do not wish to hire your own lawyer, you wish to proceed with the attorney you have appointed for you right now.
I am not sure of my best.
Well, Mr. Cortez, all I'm asking is if you'd like to hire your own attorney, you have the right to do that, but obviously you have to have the financial ability to do that. Would you like to hire your own attorney or have the public defender represent you?
No, we can continue with the public defender because the oath. There's still professional rules of conduct that should be followed. So no, I will stick with my public defender.
And Mr. Cortez, at this point, I'm going to ask that you not speak. He'll be speaking on your behalf. So for the trial on Tuesday, first of all, Mr. Silver, we have contact with Crystal Primula. Yes, Your Honor, we have. And is she available to testify Tuesday morning on all 6 counts? Yes. From what I know. Okay. How many witnesses total are you calling for the trial on Tuesday? So it looks like we have 4, Your Honor. And besides Ms. Primula, who will they be? We have her eldest daughter, Isabella Star Primula. Then we have Deputy Counselor from the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department, as well as Detective Janelle Haggerty from the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department. And are the other 3 witnesses all served and available on Tuesday morning? Yes, Your Honor. They have been served, and from what I understand from the file, they are available. And Ms. Griever, how many witnesses will you be calling, if any, on behalf of Mr. Cortez?
The most that we would be calling would be 2, including the defendant, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Another one besides the defendant?
That would be Jesse Cortez, who is the defendant's son.
Is it just an eyewitness, or?
He has knowledge of the relationship between the defendant and the alleged victim.
And what will you testify to at trial then?
He would be testifying to the relationship throughout the time frame of January 1st through May 31st and the lack of aggression and any violence. And he did not witness any.
He would be essentially a character witness for the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll have to obviously lay a foundation as for that, okay? All right. 6 witnesses on 6 counts, okay. Let's see here. I need to review the file quickly and see if there's anything in here as far as any notices or motion.
Not yet.
Okay, we have the people's notice of intent to admit statements pursuant to MCL 768.27C regarding statements that Crystal Prime made to the Deputy Consul of the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department back on May 31st of this year. Notice was sent out on August 14th, so really not less than 15 days prior to trial. And as always, for the attorney's benefit, I'll tell you on these, if Ms. Primula does testify, those statements would be admissible. If she does not, for any reason, under the Crawford decision, they would not. So that will be dependent on whether or not Ms. Primula testifies before the jury on Tuesday. Other than that, I don't see anything else in the file. Any potential stipulations on this case?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. I just know, I don't know,
I guess it depends on if Ms. Graver wanted to stipulate that possible body cam footage coming in, but I don't even know if we're intending to use that. That was my next question. Are you intending to use any audio or video evidence on Tuesday? I don't think we're going to use any video, Your Honor. And Ms. Graver, any audio or video evidence on behalf of Mr. Cortez? No, Your Honor.
No, just a text message that I printed out. Your Honor, I have text.
Mr. Cortez, if you interrupt again, we're going to have to mute you. Your attorney is speaking on your behalf. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The court obviously is going to give any composite jury instructions. They have nothing about the facts of this case. So any specific jury instructions would have to be submitted by the parties no later than close of business on Monday. So we'll have those approved on Tuesday. The same with any physical exhibits that be
We talked about that. I told them they'll probably try to push him into a trial. And if you take a trial, take a jury trial, because there's no way that judge and those attorneys are going to let you get away with, breaking the code of silence in a court of law. And the code of silence doesn't start and end on the street. That goes all the way through the courts and politics, and so all he's doing is breaking the code of silence here. You all broke the law. Now face the law, but they won't do it, so they're pushing him into trial. So he already advised them. They already knew he wanted a jury trial. They're talking about jury instructions. So I mentioned to him about going over the rules and the codes with the jury, which he's able to do, and they don't want to do that. They won't do that, but they had him make an appearance, and they threw it out. He never contacted me about the ending, so if you want to know, I asked his brother. His brother gave me very little detail. I think they went to trial, they threw it out, or I'm not sure, but you'll have to contact him. But they did throw it out, though. But that's because he wouldn't get up off his guns, those big guns, in a court of law, Rules of Professional Conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct. The legal obligations of all lawyers and judges in every court of law. No matter what court. This guy's in criminal court. The other guy I was talking to was in child court custody. People I tried to talk to in probate. One person I tried to talk to about guardianship. I talked to people in Australia, a couple people in the UK. Somebody questioned me about India. They had family in India. They were from here, but they didn't know nothing about the laws there. But, when you understand due process, the rule of law, the Constitution, it's pretty easy to figure things out. And he was kind of curious how I knew about Michigan law so well when I'm in Illinois. That's a very long discussion. But either way, they wanted him to go to jail when they were the ones that should have went to jail. I mean, talk about super predators. They're doing this just for the sake of statistics. Look, we're locking up these criminals. How are they doing it? How are they locking people up? They're taking away people's children, homes, lives. No matter what court you go into, take the rules and the codes with you. Deprive them of the ability of that conspiracy to deprive you of your constitutional rights under the color of law. All right, let's finish listening to this guy. He's pretty good. We didn't talk enough, but he did pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. probably never appeared in court in this case. Obviously, your jury trial is in person. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is the number one case, so this will be the case going to trial on Tuesday. We will be bringing the jurors in at 8:30 a.m. You need to physically be here in the courtroom at or before 8:30 a.m. If you are not, a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest and we'll have to move on to another case. So do you understand you have to physically be here in the courtroom prior to 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning of next week?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
All right. We will see you then, and we'll entertain this case to be the number one case for trial. Thank you both.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Goodbye.
Man, if one, any of those internet influencers that like to interview people about what they want, they should interview him, find out what happened. But that's a badass there, though. I mean, he was pissed because nobody went to jail for all those crimes committed against him, but he was happy because he knew they were going to throw the case out. I wish I could have gone over more with him. I wish he would have studied the rules of professional conduct and the Code of Judicial Conduct like I explained, highlighted every issue that was supposed to happen that didn't happen. There's a whole lot of ammunition in those rules and those codes that you can use against any lawyer and judge. Remember, the privation of rights always starts with the attorney, assistance of counsel, whoever's assisting you in your legal endeavors. It always starts with them. If they're not going over the rules of professional conduct, the Code of Judicial Conduct, explaining the legal obligations of him, every attorney, every judge, the courts, not just to you, but to the plaintiff and the general public as well. It's called in the public interest. If you read the rules of professional conduct, you would find that in the preamble, all lawyers are required to do what's in the public interest and maintain the public trust. The legal system is part of the public trust. If you read the public trust doctrine, you would know that. So they are the trustees, the caretakers, the gatekeepers of the public trust doctrine. Your trust fund. The trust fund of we the people. Okay. So if you look up the public trust doctrine, oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. It talks about clean air, clean water, anti-pollution thing, the legal standpoints. And then you understand, you understand that a whole lot of people made a whole lot of money violating those laws. You wouldn't have microplastics in your urine if maybe not. Maybe you would, but not as much. If the mandates in the public trust doctrine were enforced. Okay, nothing but peace and love towards it. Stop by this guy's page. See SOM versus Juan Cortez. Give him a listen personally. Thank him for putting on the internet. His story is going to help other people tell their story. It's going to help them, get their probable cause hearing, get their quick and speedy trial. People say it's only mandatory in criminal cases, but not if you read the rules of professional conduct. Diligence is mandatory. Expediting litigation is mandatory. That would be competent, and any lack of would be incompetent, which is breaking the law. All right, but I'm going to go over that with you. Somebody was asking me, is this only for, from the other video I posted about that badass John James, exposing a conspiracy against rights under the color of law and what's that called? CPS, Child Protection Services or whatever. Hey, that's nothing. They turned it. It started out okay, but they turned it into a money-making system. You know, anybody can point the finger at you, and your kids will be taken on a mere accusation, and you have to fight your way out of it. I met a lot of good people throughout the years. I tried to help. Some I did help. Some of them wouldn't listen to me. What, are you a lawyer? No. How do you know? You know, I read a lot. If you go over any of my videos, you'll find that, you know, when it comes to reading legally, my mind's gone in multiple different directions. But the easiest part about it is knowing the mandatories of every court, common denominator, the rules, the codes, what effective assistance of counsel is. A lack of effective assistance of counsel is a lack of a fair trial. The lack of a fair trial is the lack of due process. And that's what happened here. No due process here, guys. All right? You know. So, man, it'd be something if I could get everybody in every court across America going in and talking like Juan Cortez here, or John James. I forgot his last name. I just call him John Q. Public. He is John Q. Public, average Joe, man. He's a working man. He lacked the education, the legal knowledge to represent himself. So I threw him quite a few tidbits, and he went beyond that. All right. I only lit the path. He walked it. He talked it. So did Juan. And quite a few other people. Just that nobody, I wish they would do like these guys are doing, making videos and helping me help other people tell their story. You know, help them get out of that very dark place. I'm a Christian. Sometimes I get a little religion in me. But I've always called the courtroom the Valley of Death, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness goes to die. But there is a light at the end of that tunnel. There is a light. Listen to John, listen to James, or Juan, listen to James. Listen how they put their best foot forward. You should see James. He goes into that courtroom like Godzilla strutting through Tokyo, and then he pulls out his Denzel attitude and starts screaming, King Kong ain't got shit on me. Oh man, I love watching that guy's videos. But see, it's just that he knows what he knows. He knows the law. And he knows everybody in that courtroom is breaking the law and working against him. He knows he's nothing but a statistic. And his family life is nothing but being bled as a means for ill-gotten gains. All that money being earned is being earned through the privation of rights, and considering everybody's involved, it's a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. All right, thanks, people. I'm glad you're listening up. Stop by and ask Juan how's it going, you know, and you know, if the DOJ was doing their job, they would have made sure that judge and those lawyers went to jail. Then they would have filed suit for him, and he could, you know, probably got like a new car or house or something, you know. I mean, can you say RICO Act? Same thing's happening to James. Hey, you know, it's happening to all of you in the court, all right? It's happening to all of you, I'm sorry to say. And no matter what court you go, you think it's what's the immigrants being deprived of rights? People are like, yeah. You see, the more you push to deprive anybody of right, once they take it away, they don't take it away from just them. They take it away from everybody. What they take from one, they take from all. And the court clearly says anybody accused of a crime has the right to go before a court of law. It's called due process. You can't deprive anybody. It's in the Constitution. It doesn't say except. There's no exceptions. You know, what you take from one, you take from all. And I'm teaching you to get it back. Listen to John. Listen to James. Interesting gentleman. Family man. You know, the only thing these guys talked about was bills. You know, bills got to get paid. They got to get to work. The kids. This guy was brother. I worked with him a couple of years before. The only thing he was worried about was, you know, the family. Paying bills and making sure, you know, everybody eats and all that, you know. But either way, like I said, I don't know if Juan does any other, but stop by, this is on YouTube, his video. Stop by and say hello. Stop by and listen to him again. You know. You know, when you know, you know. I mean, he didn't know none of that, and it really shocked the crap out of him. And then he said, hey, so it starts with my lawyer, it is deprivation of rights. Yeah. Anybody can get their lawyer for deprivation of rights. Anybody. Because, you know, they're not telling you what I told him. Okay? And he didn't even use everything. You can't blame him. He's nervous, you know. Judge could order a hit on him, and, you know, those sheriffs, they'll snatch him up and drag him in the back, and don't tell him what happened to him. I've been there. I know how that feels. All right, nothing but peace and love, people. May your Creator always be with you. You know, have nothing but good thoughts. You know, don't let what's been done to you change you. Maintain the path. Maintain your path. John and Juan could have turned out to be some very mean and evil person. With the help of God Almighty and the love of Christ, gave me the strength, gave me the will, give me the knowledge to find these gentlemen and put them on a path of truth, justice, freedom. I got them to assimilate to the American culture. I got them to recognize that we are all created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Amongst these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and you gotta fight as if your life, liberty, pursuit of happiness counts on it. Until you get the reasonable knowledge, you know, until you have the ability to give informed consent. Remember, that's a legal requirement to be able to give informed consent. So not only do you need the reasonable knowledge, you need the reasonable legal knowledge to make an informed decision, to give informed consent. All right? And you've been denied that. You see why they want to keep you out of school? Kept me out of school, couldn't keep me out of the books, though. I love me some literature. I read Dumas. I was asked who my favorite author was. twice I answered. It's a mix-up between Mark Twain and I forgot the other gentleman's name. But either way, my favorite are law books, you know, and I just try to help you out, okay? All of you. You know, when I took the Pledge of Allegiance, my allegiance was to you, we the people. God bless and good night.